It is October 1st, 2013. A quiet public library in San Francisco. Dozens of people are reading, typing, studying. A young, 20-something man sits in the science fiction section. He is staring intensely at his laptop screen. He is typing furiously. Suddenly, a man and a woman behind him start screaming at each other. A violent, explosive lovers' quarrel. The young man turns his head, just for a second. In that exact microsecond, a hand reaches over his shoulder. It violently snatches the laptop. It slides the laptop across the table. The screaming couple breaks character. They tackle the young man to the floor. Plainclothes agents swarm the library. The young man's name is Ross Ulbricht, but the internet knows him by a different name, the Dread Pirate Roberts. He is the absolute mastermind behind the Silk Road, a billion-dollar empire, the Amazon of the dark web. For years, he was a digital ghost. He moved more pure volume and illicit capital than cartels led by kingpins like El Mencho, but he did it with absolute, terrifying anonymity. No borders, no physical drops, no violence on the streets. The FBI couldn't find him. The DEA couldn't track him. Homeland Security was completely blind. The world's most elite cyber cops were utterly humiliated. So how did a kid in a public library finally get caught? He wasn't taken down by a super hacker. He wasn't exposed by a complex algorithm. He was destroyed by a bored, mid-level IRS accountant, a man who used a simple, everyday tool, a Google search. To understand the scale of this failure, you have to understand the Silk Road. It launched in 2011. It was revolutionary. It combined two brand new, untraceable technologies, the Tor network and Bitcoin. Tor bounced internet traffic around the globe. It scrambled IP addresses. It made physical locations impossible to pinpoint. Bitcoin allowed anonymous, decentralized payments. Together, they created a bulletproof fortress. You could buy anything: narcotics, forged passports, hacking tools. The site exploded. Millions of dollars flowed through it every single week. The administrator, calling himself the Dread Pirate Roberts, took a cut of every single transaction. He became a billionaire in his 20s. The federal government panicked. Operation Marco Polo was launched. It was a massive, multi-agency task force. They threw millions of dollars at the problem. They brought in elite cryptographers. They monitored server nodes. They tried to crack the blockchain. They failed, utterly and entirely. The code was too good. The encryption was mathematically flawless. The Dread Pirate Roberts taunted them. He gave arrogant interviews to magazines. He felt like a god. Enter Gary Alford. Gary was not a hacker. He was an investigator for the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. He was a tax nerd. He worked in a dreary office. He looked at spreadsheets. He looked at numbers. In 2013, Gary was assigned to the Silk Road Task Force. The room was full of hotshot cyber agents. They were staring at complex code. They were talking about packet sniffing and zero-day exploits. Gary felt out of place. He didn't know how to hack a Tor server, but Gary knew human nature. He knew that every criminal makes a mistake, especially at the beginning. Before the Silk Road was a billion-dollar empire, it was just an idea. It was a single line of code written by a single guy. Gary asked himself a simple question. How did people find out about this site on day one? The dark web isn't indexed on Google. You can't just stumble upon it. Someone had to advertise it. Someone had to plant a seed on the regular internet. Gary sat down at his boring, standard-issue government computer. He opened Google. He didn't use hacking software. He used advanced search operators. He typed in exact match phrases. He filtered by date. He set the time frame back to early 2011, the exact window before the Silk Road exploded. He searched for the earliest mentions of a dark web market. He searched for the specific URL, page after page of nothing, dead ends, broken links. Then he found it, a post on a forum called the Shroomery, a site dedicated to magic mushrooms. The post was dated January 2011. It was written by a user named Altoid. Altoid wrote a seemingly innocent question. He said, "Has anyone seen this Silk Road site? It looks like an anonymous Amazon." It was obvious marketing. It was a thinly veiled advertisement.
Gary dug deeper into the Altoid account. He searched the username across other forums. He found another post by Altoid, this time on a forum for Bitcoin developers. The post was highly technical. Altoid was asking for help writing a specific piece of code, a piece of code that perfectly matched the infrastructure of the Silk Road.
And then Gary saw it, the fatal error, the $1 million typo. At the bottom of the forum post, Altoid had left contact info for developers to reach him. He didn't leave a secure, encrypted handle. He left his real, personal Gmail address, rossulbricht@gmail.com. Gary stared at the screen, the master hacker, the untouchable kingpin, the digital ghost. He had used his real name to ask a coding question on a public forum. Gary took this finding to the elite task force. They scoffed. They told him it was too simple. They told him Ross Ulbricht was a nobody, a 20-something kid in San Francisco. He didn't fit the profile of a criminal mastermind. But Gary didn't back down. He pulled Ross's records. He found out Ross lived in a shared house near a cafe in San Francisco. The DEA subpoenaed the cafe's Wi-Fi records. The Dread Pirate Roberts always logged into the Silk Road at the exact same time Ross Ulbricht logged into the cafe's network. The IP addresses matched. The timeline matched. The ghost had a physical body. The raid had to be perfect. The Silk Road servers were heavily encrypted. If they arrested Ross on the street, his laptop would lock. The evidence would vanish forever into a digital black hole. They needed to catch him logged in, with the laptop open, unlocked. Which brings us back to October 1st, the Glen Park Library. Agents watched him sit down. They watched him open his laptop. An undercover agent, sitting across the room, messaged the Dread Pirate Roberts on the dark web. Ross's fingers flew across the keyboard. He replied. The connection was confirmed. He was logged in as the master administrator. The signal was given. The staged fight broke out. The distraction worked flawlessly. The agent snatched the laptop. Ross was tackled. The empire was dead. Ross Ulbricht was sentenced to double life in federal prison plus 40 years, without the possibility of parole. Millions of lines of encrypted code, billions of dollars, elite, untraceable networks, all brought down by a guy at a desk looking at page 10 of a Google search. It leaves us with a massive, terrifying question. The federal government spent tens of millions of dollars chasing a digital ghost with high-tech software, and they failed completely. They were blinded by their own sophistication. Are our massive intelligence agencies overcomplicating modern crime? Or, in an age where every single keystroke is permanently logged on the internet, is it simply impossible to hide? But there is one more twist to this story. On January 21, 2025, President Donald Trump signed a full and unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht. After 11 years behind bars, 2 life sentences plus 40 years, he walked free. Let me know exactly what you think in the comments down below. If you want more stories of everyday heroes breaking massive secrets, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.